right here live at Rolling Out, and I am Dee Collins, doing Miss D, and you are looking at us and listening to us because when Dee speaks, guess what? You think. And there's a lot of things that I guarantee you today that you're going to think about, because one of the things that we do here, not only at Rolling Out, but particularly for Dunamis Woman. That is who I am. I am a Dunamis Woman. Dunamis Woman Enterprise. You can follow me, social media me, Dunamis Woman, and you'll see everything. But we believe in our real awesome men, okay? And we need healing as women. Men need healing in order for us to have wholesome, effective relationships. So you all of us have been through some stuff. All of us got our story. All of us and it's time to tell it. But I got a real awesome man here that has been through some stuff, you all, but he has overcome. He is more than a conqueror. And that is Charles David, Mr. Moody. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm really excited to be here today.
I'm so happy for you because, first of all, we had a great time even before the show. And I've come to learn that you from my city, the Chi.
We grew up around the corner from
yeah,
each
we
other.
did.
But I was a lot older.
Oh, most definitely.
Yes.
You was one of them ones that, taught me some stuff.
That's right.
You know, I had to model y'all.
That's right.
That's why I know what I know right now.
But that's why you the bomb.
You know what? I got two older brothers that are of your age. And so I know because I glean from not only them, but a host of their friends. So people always say, well, why are you so, this and real and raw and down to earth? Because I had some great men.
Yeah, there were good times then. And that was also during the civil rights era. So we saw a lot of things and a lot of changes going on at that time. And, Chicago was one of those places I always tell folks is probably one of the most segregated cities I ever lived in.
But you know what? If you can get your grind on in the Chi, you can go anywhere.
Yes, you can.
Oh, if you could live in the Chi and make it, you can go anywhere. Well, Mr. Moody, we are here because I know you got a story.
Yes.
I know you got a story. First of all, you're a husband of 36 years.
Yes, it'll be 36 years next Tuesday.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And about 5 kids, 6, 7?
No, 2 kids. In fact, I've been married so long now, when we go to a restaurant, I don't even get a menu. The waiter says, do you want one? I go, no, my wife's going to tell me what I'm going to eat.
So you really kind of like real groom very well.
Oh,
It's going to be a great show then.
Yeah, I'm trained.
You trained? Oh, I'm going to have fun with you.
Yeah, I'm very trained.
I'm going to have fun with you. But regardless of that, you are still a man.
Yes, I am.
And a lot of people lose themselves as husband, father, business owner. You're very successful as a business owner as well. But I want to get into the heart of a man because you got a story. And we were talking about the first segment. I want to get into you being a survivor of sexual abuse.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now before you start going, because I know you've told this story many times.
Right.
But my first question to you is, you willing to talk about it as a black man?
Well, it took me 50 years to get, about 46 years to get comfortable to talk publicly. I told my wife in 1992, at 36, that I had been sexually abused. And actually, I had planned on dying with my secret. And actually what had happened, my wife found out someone close to her had been sexually abused, and she told me about it. And all of a sudden, I just blurted it out. It happened to me. And my body and mind kept telling me, don't, we got you covered. We've been covering you for 26 years.
Yeah.
I mean, but my whole life changed in a very dramatic and traumatic way once I said it. I started having panic attacks, and I had a complete breakdown, but my business was only 4 years old, so I couldn't tell anyone. So I had to try and deal with it. We went and had every kind of test because I knew I must have a brain tumor or something, because all of a sudden, and if you want, I'll kind of tell the story.
Yeah, and I want you to tell the story, but I want to, and please, I know you ain't going to lose your thought on it, because it's your story. I know you're not. But before we just start telling the story, because, see, for me, not only just as the host of this show, this is just what I do as one aspect of occupation, but my real crust of who I am is from a spiritual life and leadership and relationship coach. So for almost 30 years, I've been hearing so many people's pains, particularly women.
Right.
But one of the things is that you all as men don't talk like we talk, and it takes a lot for us to dig out those stories. And most of the women who have come to me, they have been molested or raped or had some sexual abuse. But the secrecy of us as a people, particularly men, why you said that, you know what, you said I was going to die with that. What frame of mind is
well,
that?
you got to think
Is that
about
in?
it, and this is the important part. And one of the reasons I started speaking up about this, because I didn't want people to continue to suffer in silence and feel all alone. Because when you're a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, the predator has threatened you, has put you in a position of fear. Then you become ashamed and embarrassed. And as a heterosexual male, I didn't want to ever admit that another male had sex, with me, and as a child, and had, an older person had taken advantage of me. And I had just planned on dying with that secret, but it was impacting my life when I look back.
Yeah.
And you're so embarrassed and ashamed when you've been sexually abused, period. And society for so long didn't believe the survivor to begin with.
Yeah.
And here's the other important fact. 90% of predators is someone in the family or a family member. So most of the time, a child survivor is told don't say nothing because it can mess up the family dynamics or relationships.
Yeah.
So that survivor is forced to be quiet.
And we were trained just as a black race to what goes on in this house stays in this house. Whether it's through a sexual abuse or anything that's negative, we are not permitted to talk about it.
Well, also, you got to think about it. I'm 62 years old. This happened to me.
You ain't 62.
Yeah, but I'm a cool 62. I always tell people I'm an age, but I'm never going to become old.
How does your wife live with you?
Happily.
Go ahead.
But you got to think about it. This was like 1965. This happened to me. And in 1965, the thought of even saying that in my neighborhood of Chicago or anywhere, it would have been, it would have just been horrendous. And also it's so hard, and unfortunately, when I finally decided to talk about it, the statute of limitations are passed. But also, it is tough to even think about going to court. And that's why I just commend and respect those who do say something and take advantage. That's probably the greatest guilt I have in my life, is that I let this person hurt other people by not speaking up. And that's why I speak up today. That's my way of giving back, because that has always haunted me. But there's nothing I can do about it. And I had to learn to forgive, because I wanted to get even. And I realized then I would ruin my life again, if I wasn't careful. And I just had to have trust in my faith. But it was my wife who actually helped me. If it hadn't been for my wife, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Say that again. Say that one more time.
I'm very honest.
I want you to say that one more time.
If it had not been for my wife, I wouldn't be sitting here today, and I'll tell the story when you're ready.
And before we get into that, I have another reason. I go a little bit deep. You know what I mean?
Go deep then.
I want to. He said go deep.
Then go deep.
Because I commend you. A lot of people still have to tell their story. But before you launch that and start telling it, tell me how it was negatively impacting you. Because we don't think that this stuff in the secrecy and the silency is impacting us.
When I look back,
yes,
a couple things. One, I dated a lot of women.
So you was promiscuous?
Yeah, because I think I was trying to, in my own way, keep myself like it didn't happen. It really didn't happen. So if you're staying sexually active and dating a lot, or just, you're
covering up your pain.
Right. I stayed busy. I went to college, played football. I was in fraternity, Q Psi Phi, Omega Psi Phi. So I stayed busy because I didn't want my mind to be still. And I had buried it, but I started looking back now. I had a couple panic attacks when I was young. One was about 16. I started kind of getting lightheaded a couple times in college, but it really didn't. I never put two and two together because I stayed so busy. I was able to push through it. But the other thing, I was fortunate enough that I was not one of the ones who took destructive lifestyles by getting into drugs or alcohol abuse, because to hide that pain. I understand that though. My thing was staying busy. And but it was affecting me because I couldn't concentrate long. It was hard for me to concentrate. So when I look back, I see all those pieces.
Which is why you stay busy.
Right.
Because it was like it's like you was ADHD.
Right. And I was,
You
and
know?
there was a time I didn't like to be alone. I didn't have to be talking to you. I didn't even want to be alone because I was afraid of I would think about it. You know, even when you bury something, there are triggers that brings it up. And then finally, and when the time comes, I'll tell the story how it all kind of came out.
Well, I have one more place that I want to go because we get there. We get there.
Hey, take your time. It's your show.
I know that's right. D speaks, you think.
That's right. This is your show. I'm just here doing what you tell me to do.
You take orders very well, don't you?
Extremely well.
Thank you. What's your wife's name?
Carla.
Carla, I love you. Thank you, Carla. So you get to a place that you're out there, fine black man, women, busy.
Say that one more time.
Fine black
Thank
man. You know what I mean?
I haven't heard that in a long time.
Busy. And if you look good now, I can imagine what you look like at 20.
Oh, macaroni Tony.
You know what I'm saying? Because you fine at 62. But you out there and the women just all over you and you can get what you want. You can get the sex. You can get whatever you want because that's just how we're wired as a people. But then you come into a place that you meet this one woman and her name is Carla.
Right.
Her name is Carla. Now, I'm saying this because our whole crust at Dunamis Woman is that we may be healed as a woman of power. That's what Dunamis means. That we may be able to birth our real awesome men. Now, birthing our real awesome men is not, you know, Carla, you can go up in her vagina and she actually birthed you. But it's from a spiritual perspective of understanding your pain and how valuable we are to implement what we need to be in your life that you may get to this place of being free.
Well,
did I say that right?
Yeah. You know, but one of the things I tell people, and it's very true what you said, one of the greatest things I've learned is that when you have your life partner, that person that y'all got each other's back, because here's the thing I tell folks after going through this and doing research and speaking all over the country on this topic and meeting a lot of survivors, a lot of people's marriages broke up from this.
Yes.
So it takes a strong person, male and female, to really have your spouse's back when they need you.
But what made Carla, out of all those women that you had encountered, it was something about her that stood out amongst all.
You know, I'll tell you the story. We met at 16, couldn't stand each other. At 19, we had our first date, but I was actually going out with a friend of hers, and I had set her up with a buddy of mine from Morehouse, and we were supposed to go out that whole weekend. We went out Friday night, and I was with her friend, and my buddy was with Carla. And I kept saying, wait a minute, I might have gave him too good a deal. So that night I kept going, I got to get rid of him. So the next morning he was staying at my parents' house, and I was in Ann Arbor, and I woke up. I said, Kenny, man, something's come up. I got to take you back to Detroit. So I took him back to Detroit, which is a 40-minute ride. I came back, and I called Carla. I said, Carla, I'm so sorry. Kenny had to go back to Detroit. I'll take you out. And that's kind of what happened. And we dated off and on for 7 years. And but here's the other thing. We liked each other. We liked being with each other, even if we weren't dating.
But what was it about her that you told, you spoke up about the sexual abuse? Because I know that you just wouldn't have trusted anybody with that information.
No, you got to remember, we had been married, let's see, got married 82, 8, we had been married 10 years before I told her.
I know.
Yeah, so what happened?
Well, I don't know, but I can imagine.
What happened, and it's very interesting, this is what's important. Again, I had planned on dying with it. And now that I've done research and counseling, I understand triggers. My wife and I found out someone close to her had been sexually abused. And for some reason, I just blurted it out to her. I just went, that happened to me. And I thought it was fine. And a couple of months go by, and I'm starting to feel like I'm not in control anymore, but I can't put two and two together. And I'm driving down the street, and this is when cell phone was 35 cents a minute. I was talking to somebody about a project. All of a sudden, I couldn't breathe. And I think I'm having a heart attack. I tried to call my wife on the phone, couldn't reach her, so I called 911. And the ambulance came. They hooked me up. They said everything's fine. And they sent me to the doctor, and I'll finish the story in just a minute.
You're going to finish? Because I know if you go right into that, it's going to be longer than one on minute. Well, you know what? We're going to come back. We got a break that we're going to take. I like you. You know how to see. You're a businessman too.
Right.
You know how to maneuver. You know how to navigate. You know how to look out of two eyes.
That's right. And you got to remember, I came along before Google, so we had to think.
You had to. That's the point. You had to think. You ain't technology all driven, are you?
No.
You still got your
mind.
mind.
Technology, but you still had to think.
You still have to think. Well, this is D. Dunamis D. D Speaks You Think. And we're going to be right back with Charles David Moody, who got a story, who's going to tell. I have dug down deep into him, but I'm going to let him bring it on out when we come back. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This week on The Kitchen.
Yeah. Hold up. Tune in. All right.
You got Translate.
I just want to answer what y'all asking.
You got Great. DJ DiBiase.
All right. Yeah. Hold up.
Chef Chrissy.
Yeah. Hold up. Tune in.
Porcelain Gold.
For the Grammy, yeah, I thought you know. The kitchen got the fixes and enjoy the show. Alright, well, that's the show, man. I thank y'all for coming. Then it was Thursday. Next time I hope you get on.
God blessing me often. I'm still up in the apartment. I know they keeping my deposit. I got burn holes in the carpet.
All I know is old. All I know is bold. All I know is stoves. Been flipping this out the door.
What's up, guys? This is Lipstick and Cognac. Starting on Tuesday, you guys will be on rollingout.com and on our Facebook page, giving you all the tea you need for relationships. Here to help you out, man. Make sure y'all tune in from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Want to watch your favorite talk show, Lipstick and Cognac. Here with that dynamic duo. You don't want to miss Lipstick, Shadio Comics, and just Cognac Till Like It Is personality, man. It's going to be a great time. Make sure y'all tune in. Tune in on rollingout.com. There's ROLLINGOUT.com. And also on Facebook, Rolling Out Facebook, man. It's going to be a great time. Y'all don't want to miss this. Great laugh, great talks, realness, truth. Man, we ain't really some expert. We know what we talking about. So make sure y'all tune in. rollingout.com, man. Lipstick and Cognac.
Well, welcome back. Welcome back. This is Dunamis D Collins. D Speaks You Think. And we are here talking with a real awesome man, Charles David Moody, about his life of overcoming not only just sexual abuse, but he's also incorporating within his story a powerful woman, a dunamis woman who he has been living with for over 36 years. But she's an intricate part of not only just his life, but how he has evolved into the man that he is today. Am I correct?
Yes, most definitely.
Am I correct?
Oh, no,
you better speak up now.
I always give her everything that I speak to or event. I always give my wife the credit that she deserves because it's so often when a person is successful, we often think the other spouse is just on for the ride.
Yeah.
And because we all have a story and we all go through things in life where we need each other. And I just always want to give her props for what she did because she's a quiet kind of person. And one of the reasons I'm happy and I kind of act the way I do is because so often people who go through traumas like this, they don't think happiness can exist anymore. And I want people to know my story, yes, it's not good what happened to me and what I went through. But I still have an incredible life. I still have a great family. I still laugh. I still have joy. And my whole focus is to remind people, regardless of what we've been through, we can still do incredible things and have a good life. But more importantly, all of us will be knocked to our knees at one time in our life.
Yes, we will. Yes, with something that's going to create our story.
And the other part of that is, every one of us is so much stronger than we realize.
Almost definitely.
And we don't know it until we are at that point. So that's why I speak up so much about it, because I just learned so many people just suffer in silence.
They do.
And so anyway,
they suffer in silence and they sin in secret.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because that it goes back to the suffering in silence, which leads to that. And it's that silent killer. It's that it could be, and we don't want that.
And it's also creates, as you said, it creates a lot of health issues.
Yes, it does.
If you don't deal with it. So one of the things, as I was telling you earlier, so anyway, I had my first panic attack. So I go to the doctor. He goes, look, your business is 4 years old, so you're just busy with a young family, a business. You know, I had just won the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce Small Business Person of the Year. I had just come from the White House, getting an award for minority business. So, you know, I'm thinking before I said this, I'm like, man, my life rolling.
Yeah.
And this is when I also learned how quick your life can change on a dime. So anyway, I had that first panic attack, and a month goes by, and I go out of town for an event down in St. Simon's, and I go to the dinner, and we're at a dinner. My wife wasn't with me. It's a business event, and all of a sudden, I can't breathe again. A good friend of mine, Ken Matlock, he happened to be at this event, Morehouse brother. He took me to the emergency room, and they test me,
Still
said,
can't
sir,
find them.
nothing. But this time, I get back to the hotel room. I'm starting to have uncontrollable muscle tremors. I'm starting to just cry uncontrollably. I'm actually having a nervous breakdown. And now I'm falling apart. So I realized it was a 3-day event. I knew there was no way I could stay. So the next morning I get up and I drive back. It was the longest 5 hours of my life because I kept having them driving because now I'm just really messed up. So I'm calling my wife, and this again when the cell phone was 35 cents a minute. So I'm calling her every 20, 30 minutes to try and just talk to her to kind of help me get there. And she's nervous because we don't know what's going on. And at the same time, her mother's dying of a brain tumor in Michigan. So, you know, things are really crazy. And there's no way at that time did I think my childhood sexual abuse is causing
all this. You're not, no correlation.
There's just no way this could be
right,
happening.
no correlation, yeah.
So we go and get every test possible to
Yeah.
I mean, they said, sir, we can't find anything.
Yeah.
And just so happened, after church one Sunday, I was talking to a person who's a psychiatrist. And I was kind of telling her what was happening. She said, you're having panic attacks. And then start getting a little bit more counseling and realized it was from the sexual abuse. And I didn't realize how
that happened how many years
26
ago?
years.
So when you see how stuff could just fester in your soul.
And but again, you got to remember, this is 1992, so nobody's talking about it.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell anyone in business or anything what was going on because I was afraid they would stop doing business with me or look at me strange, like something's wrong with him, he's crazy and blah, blah, blah. So I suffered in silence. You know, I heard of other people who might have been sexually abused, but nobody talked about the journey of what it's like to live with anxiety, panic attacks. I had post-traumatic stress syndrome from it. So once I got counseling, learned the triggers, and started doing research, I was able to start healing, but it still took me 20 years after that before I spoke publicly.
So healing within the core of your soul is not an overnight process.
Oh, no.
You have to really, I know from a woman's perspective, but from a man's perspective, because see, most men don't think that you all have to go through these things. You suppress it, you're good. You know what I mean? But it can affect every area of your life.
Oh, it does. I mean, I've had so many men just tell me thank you. And those who have been sexually abused, who have buried it for 40 and 50 years, to those who are just dealing with anxiety and stuff from other stuff, who almost like just needed permission. It was okay to go get counseling because so often we feel that if you go see a psychologist or psychiatrist, what's wrong with you? You're crazy. You're weak. And that is so far from the truth.
Well, in our community, you know, in our race, we haven't been educated on that. You know, from my take on it and what I've seen in my experience is that, and because I am a clinical therapist, but then also too, you know, I'm a believer. You know what I mean? So, you know, either over here, you know, other races go to clinical therapy, but we go to church.
That's something else that I talk about to folks also. I'm not a therapist. I'm just a survivor who tells a story. So I always tell folks when they talk to me, I go, look, you still need to go to a professional. Who has been trained in whatever you're dealing with, especially if it's childhood sexual abuse. So I do a lot of work with Darkness to Light, D2L.org, and I'm in their new training film, to help with prevention
Yeah,
and healing.
yeah.
And I'm also in the training film for Boy Scouts. I'm on the national board for Boy Scouts, just to help people deal with this, because it's not the person in the trench coat you got to worry about.
No, right.
See,
right,
that's
right,
the other false
right,
thing.
Right,
And the other
right.
thing is, you don't see it. I mean, my parents are great parents. They love me.
Yes, yes.
They didn't realize they were putting me in that situation, because that person does. See, here's the difference. A predator is good at what they do. We see this in the church, Catholic
Yeah, most
church,
definitely,
and
most
all
definitely.
these
We see it
things.
every right.
And if you don't know the signs and pay attention, but also times have changed where we're making our kids more comfortable to tell us. Because the first thing you must do if someone tells you that is to believe them.
And most of them think it's their fault.
I would say all of us do. I
Yeah,
mean, that's
right.
one of the reasons
And,
I was
yeah,
quiet.
and it's not your fault.
Yeah, and that was probably the biggest challenge I had to deal with, was accepting it was not my fault. I was a kid.
Yeah.
I wasn't strong enough
You
to
right,
fight them
right,
off.
right.
And it wasn't a force thing. And when I say force, it wasn't like violent. They are predators. And then the threats, then the fear, then after it's happened, you're just messed up. And I'm just one of those fortunate ones that it happened twice, and my mother had an inkling something was up, never saw him again, fortunately. And then we moved from Chicago in 1970 to Ann Arbor, Michigan,
Okay.
in ninth grade. So me getting out the environment, it freed me.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, too many survivors
They have to still live in that environment.
and unfortunately, they still got to see the person.
And they still got to see the person.
Because usually it's a family member, someone's close.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it can get really ugly.
It could get crazy.
Yeah, and the survivor is just so hurt, because a lot of times people don't want to address it.
And it's hard for, I commend not only you, but your parents, because even in my experiences, it's hard for a lot of parents to even want to hear that,
Yeah, the
that have
biggest
happened,
thing-
and they brush it off. And they don't want to deal with it, because it's hard from a parental perspective to deal and say, this has happened to my child.
Yeah, and the biggest thing I had to tell my parents is not their fault. And that's the thing, parents, I've had tons of parents call me. And just for advice, I wrote a book called Fighting Through the Fear, My Journey of Healing Through Childhood Sexual Abuse. And then I have a website called moodyspeaks.com. And it's been read in 120 countries. And it's just a place of positive stories of survivors of childhood sexual abuse. And a place to get resources if you need help. Because not everybody is ever going to speak out, and that's fine. But
Yeah.
be all you can be.
Yes.
Get the healing, but you don't have to speak out. I made a decision that God put me in this position
For you to be able to help.
do this. Because it took me
Right.
46
Right.
years to get
Right.
to this point.
Right.
Because I don't care now. I don't care if somebody has an issue with it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
and I wasn't comfortable enough in the past. But the other thing is, I really try to show people you can still have an incredible life, do incredible things. My biggest concern is there's someone who's a survivor who hasn't gotten counseling, and they're going to do something so incredible, but it's never going to happen.
Come on
Because they
now.
never freed themselves.
Come on now.
And they never had anybody talk about it that let them know they're okay and they're not alone. I think that's the biggest thing when you're going through certain things. So often you feel alone. But anyway, I want to go back. So when I got back home, it was my wife who just embraced me. She held me, and she said, we're on this together.
Come on now.
And then I never forget when I was at my lowest point, because I'm like, am I going to even recover? I mean, that's how messed up it was. And I remember looking in the mirror, and I said, God, I don't know what's going on, but whatever it is, I'm not going to lose my faith. And my wife didn't quit. She didn't get scared. She didn't run. I mean, she had to put me together so I could go to meetings. And,
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody out there has dealt with anxiety and panic attacks and don't understand it, they know what I'm talking about.
And can you just, I want to take a minute just for you to imagine, and maybe you have before, but all that she contributed to stand with you and walk with you through that journey. What do you think your life would be like if Carla was not that kind of woman, or was not there, period, or you was just still?
I'm scared to even think about it. I really, that's, for anybody who ever has been broken emotionally, they know what I'm talking about. When you have, and you don't know what's happening,
Yeah.
if it hadn't been for my wife and my faith, and fortunately, I am blessed with energy to not stop, not to quit, not to give up.
Yeah.
So when you put all three of those together, I was able to get through it, but not everybody has that.
Yes,
If you don't have, when you're broken, and if you don't have somebody supporting you, whether it's a spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, parent, really good friend, if you're alone, it is so hard.
It's hard. It's hard.
So
it's hard.
having that key person in your life who doesn't judge you, and and there came times when she had to kick me in my butt. Like, get up, let's go. Because I got to a point, I didn't even want to move. But God also blessed me that my business didn't suffer. Nobody knew. Now, they had rumors I had had a heart attack and all kind of stuff, but I was afraid to say what was really going on.
So can you agree with the words that I'm going to use, and I hope that you understand it, that during those times, like you said, nobody really, your business kept on going, nobody really knew.
Nobody
you know what I'm saying?
knew.
Because what my thinking is, because of how you all stood together and she doing what she did as your woman and your wife, she covered that part of you.
Yeah,
she covered.
She
you.
made it easy for me to do that because it was her strength. But I think probably the hardest part in this time, this happened in March of '92. Her mother was dying of a brain tumor. Her mother died June of '92. And when we went to the funeral, I was useless. I couldn't help her. And that probably hurt me more than anything because I was still broken.
You were still broken.
Because we still hadn't put two and two together. I was still having the muscle tremors. I was still just having panic attacks out the blue. So I was still broken.
So at this point, when you was going through this, you never had really assessed that it was because of the sexual abuse at this point, had you?
Still hadn't
put two together.
We probably went 4 to 6 months before we even put two and two together.
So you hadn't even entered into therapy as of yet.
I was going to counseling, but we thought it was just stress-related kind of.
Okay.
But if you don't know what the true issue is, you can't get to the root of the problem.
And so look, I mean, because this is what when we talk about a dunamis woman, and that is a woman who is miraculously endowed with we all are, but knowing from her heart how to stand with the man that has been given to her, because that's what you say, for better, for worse, right?
Yeah, and the other thing I think is important that I share too, my wife's a registered nurse, but she's a hospice nurse. So she took care of those who were in transition of passing away. So she has that unique trait. But
with all that, she exudes that through her womanhood.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Oh no, I'm telling you, her strength.
That's what I'm saying.
And I tell people this all the time, and I tell this to my kids dating, and I tell this to anybody when they're dating. I said,
talk to me. I'm dating.
I said, you need this. I said, before you make that decision, you need to kind of see how that person handles adversity.
And
their own adversity, just your. I mean,
adversities of life.
Yeah, because see, so often when we're dating, we, as my wife say, we're interviewing. So we always just show our best. We don't want to show any of our flaws or what our issues are, because you need to make sure that person can handle what your issue is that you're dealing with.
And this is why I'm illuminating this part of your story, because I really love you and commend you for acknowledging how intricate the wife and the woman that was given to you play a role in your healing.
In fact, I look back, she'd have been the only one that I dated who probably, maybe one or two, who could have handled
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what you see what I'm saying?
It was scary to have somebody completely break down emotionally and having muscle tremors and panic attacks and don't know, and there's no medical
That's all
explanation.
I'm saying. I know you. So you recognize it when you said, man, I may have given my guy a good deal. You had to reverse that.
You know what was interesting? When I look back, I kind of laughed. There was some kind of energy that day. And I always tell people, pay attention to your gut.
Yeah.
Pay attention to certain things. But it was, and I know it might sound mystical or something, but there was something that just happened that made me say, man, you need to change this.
You need to switch gears because you done
we're
gave away
in the
your
car.
good thing.
We're in the car together,
Yeah.
and I'm with my friend, her girlfriend, and my buddy. They're in the back seat laughing and talking. I keep looking in the rearview mirror. I'm like, no, man, I'm messing up here. So, you got to pay attention to those things.
But that's that spiritual inclination. That's that gut. That's that intuitiveness or whatever you want to call it, because you didn't even know it with your head, but you knew something had to be shifted for where you were down the line.
And even though we dated other people off and on in those 7 years, we always came back to each other. So it wasn't like 7 years of just us dating. We went back and forth. So it was interesting.
I want you to talk about when we come back, and we're going to take a break because I want to get more deep into his story, Mr. Moody, but I also want to talk about the adversities, how we have to see relationships not just initially for the good of what you can give me, what you can do for me, but who are you that can handle my adversities? Well, we're going to be right back. Life and Relationships. D Speaks, You Think. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, it is your favorite politician, Representative Erica Thomas, and I'm excited to tell you about the Erica Thomas Show, where we break down news and politics in layman terms where everybody can understand it. We start off the show with hip hop and politics, where we might interview your favorite celebrity and we break down hip hop and let you know that it's the same thing as politics, baby. And also coming up after that, we have kids and politics, where we bring on your favorite kid stars and they tell us all about how they feel about politics. And then right after that is the hit list, where we tell you about the fails of the week. Who failed this week in the news and who do we need to know about? It's all happening at 6 o'clock every single Tuesday. I said 6 o'clock every single Tuesday. So you better tune in. You better tune in. You better not miss it. I mean, you better not miss it. The Erica Thomas Show is on live.
30 million people have been diagnosed with diabetes and 75 million with high blood pressure. Let's talk about the importance of cleaning the blood. 50 years of scientific research have shown that garlic, when taken in the right amount, can help to lower blood pressure, sugar level, and cholesterol, all while providing energy. How? Through cleansing, regulating, and replenishing the blood. Garlic alone is powerful, but for over 41 years, we've discovered that by combining garlic, aloe, and parsley together, we help the body to clean the blood even better. You can clean excess sugar, cholesterol, and waste from the blood and promote better circulation. So don't delay. Do it today. Get your bottle of GAP pills. Normally sells for $49.95, but if you use the promo word HEALTH, you get $10 off. Visit us at aloeheals.com or call us at 404-996-6942.
Well, welcome back to D Speaks You Think. We are right here on Rolling Out Live, and we're having some awesome dialogue, getting into the heart, the message, the story of a real awesome man, Charles David Moody, and illuminating, OMG, he is illuminating his beautiful wife, Carla, as a dunamis woman. Now, you all, I don't know if he really know what dunamis mean. But
I really don't.
I know you don't.
I was a C student.
but that miraculous force and a strength that has been endowed with every woman, but that woman who understands that is not just for her own selfish gain, it's not for herself, it's for her man. Because just think about it, Moody, you wouldn't have became a father without her being able to birth the seed that you planted inside of her, that made you a father. You see what I'm saying? You didn't go through that. You didn't go through that process.
No, but I was in the delivery room.
Yeah, but you didn't go through that process of her incubating into contractions and feeling, and that is from a natural analogy of how God has wired us spiritually. But we look at from a relationship standpoint now, we don't want to go through the pain of having you all. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, the other thing that's important to me, and again, and I think is important when I say this, things I say now, I say as a 62-year-old man.
I know you're speaking from that.
So I'm speaking from experiences. I'm speaking through so many different challenges and growth. I mean, the way Carl and I were when we first got married and where we are today is like night and day. I mean, we're the same people, but we're so much closer and just it's a different deal because now it's about the last part of life. You know, we're into that time, but The important thing I always tell people, though, you still have to be with the right person for all this to work. And what I mean by that, not everybody we're with is the right person for us. And we got to be smart enough to see, okay, this isn't working. I mean, because life's too short to be miserable.
And you were talking about when we were on break. We have great conversations when we're on break.
We sure do, y'all.
Yeah, we have some great conversations. Because I was even saying to you, first of all, you're 62 years old. So many things in the relationship, dating, or who is for me and who is not. We look at it from totally different perspectives. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Which is probably why I'm by myself, you know what I mean? But if you just, God forbid, if you were single again and Carla was to have left this earth and she's going to live a long, long time, I decree that. But if you were ever put in that position, a woman will be looking at you for your business. They'll be looking at you for what you got. Oh, he a businessman. They ain't thinking about nothing about what is on the inside of you.
Well, you know, you know how women, y'all always do this. You know, you always say, my wife teases me. She says, something happens to me, I know who you be with so-and-so, so-and-so. And I told her, I said, baby, something happened to you. My next wife ain't even born yet. I've been married so long, ain't nobody going to train me again.
I know. Because
I will be forever on my own.
Oh, because you have endured the processes of life, and things have changed.
But also on a serious note, when you've been through certain things together that long,
there's no one who can prevent it.
It would be really challenging for me to even put another person in that spot, because the bar would be set so high that I just at this stage of my life.
And there should not be. But my point of saying that is that the vision of the purpose of relationships, of what you have experienced, have been skewed.
Oh, no
you
doubt.
know, and so they don't look at you for how I can still be an asset to you. They will look at you predominantly for what you can give them. And I love how you were saying, you know, even in your healing process of how you all have endured, that she was there not only to just say, what can you give me, but she also was footing the bill of what you did not accept. But how did that story part go?
And I'll tell you, there's one of the things that really helped me as I was making my decision about, am I going to commit to Carla, is that when we were dating, you know, off and on, and I was working, I was an architect for Bechtel, and Carla, you know, came from a family where she had to pay her own way through college. She had been working since 16. She didn't make a lot of money. She had a job, and she was 1981. She was making 12 grand a year and putting herself through school. But whenever we would go out, she'd always offer to pay her portion. And that always stuck with me, because I went, you know, here's a sister. She doesn't make much. She needs every penny to live. But when we go out, she never looked at me as it was my job as the man to carry the load. And that also went into our marriage. She's always managed the money, because Carla's the one who will stay up all night looking at a check register till she finds the missing penny. So, and she's not materialistic, even to this day.
Come on
I mean,
now.
Carla and I both buy our clothes when the season's going out. So we always the season out. Now, I might be wearing linen in the wintertime, but I only pay 25% of the cost.
This is the time to get your winter clothes on sale.
Well, I already got winter clothes from probably 10 years ago.
Yeah, right. Go ahead.
But it made it easy for me building a business and struggling, because I didn't have a financial requirement to make her happy.
Yeah, come on.
So when you have a person that is with you and money's not important, it makes it easier to try and build something. But also, when we were struggling to make ends meet, we used to even know how we were going to pay the house note when I started the business. We learned real early how to do stuff cheap or free with young kids. We'd go to Piedmont Park all the time. It was $45 for a family pass to the zoo. It was, at that time, we had the Sidetrack Museum. It was $40 for a pass, and then it was like maybe $80 for a family pass to Six Flags. So we would save our little money and buy those passes. Every Saturday and Sunday, we were in one of those places. Like today, I doubt if my kids would go to a zoo or get their face painted, because they went so much. But we learned very early that it doesn't take a lot to be happy. But also, when you've been broken like I was, and what we went through is from being a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, you really get comfortable with nature, smiling, happiness, each other. And sometimes we can use material things to hide our pain. Makes us feel better. We can get at that. So I was very fortunate, very blessed. And that's why I really always speak so highly of my wife, because she never demanded a financial type life for her to be happy with me.
Yeah.
You know, she's like, we were broke when we got married. So, you know.
Right. And that's, where's she from?
She's Ann Arbor, Michigan. My wife is very interesting. My wife is black. Her mother, black Canadian, and her her grandmother on her dad's side is full Ottawa tribe out of Michigan. So my wife is black Canadian and Native American. And in fact, I tease her sometimes because she actually has a card from the government where she's, you know, part of the Ottawa tribe. So when we went home to Michigan once, I took her up north to northern Michigan and actually took her to where the Ottawa tribe reservation is. In fact, she had, she had two aunts who went to high school on the reservation in Michigan and then went to Howard University in the 40s and graduated. So she has her own unique
history. Well, I'm very excited. I'm so happy for you because you're truly a blessed man.
Oh,
you
I
are
know
a
that.
blessed man.
But you know what? It's a lot of good men and women out there.
It is.
And the biggest thing I tell people, you got to find somebody you like. It's okay to love them, but you got to like them. See, I like being with my wife. I would run with her if we weren't married. But we also did a lot of fun stuff. Like we go canoeing, you know, we go hiking. We do stuff where it's not about spending money. Like we don't celebrate Valentine's Day, never have. We don't, even though our anniversary is next week, we don't do nothing special.
Right. because you're enjoying life all the time.
Well, we made an agreement when we first got together. We said, look, if we're doing what we're supposed to do, we don't have to do a special day every year or 2 times a year. Only thing we celebrate is Christmas and birthdays. Because the other thing is all the stress people put on themselves for Valentine's Day and you know, like I gotta go get this, I gotta go do. We don't take ourselves through all that. We just sit on Valentine's Day laughing.
Right. As every, because you got the love already.
We go get us a slab of ribs for those of y'all who eat pork, and we just eat us some ribs with paper and just have us a good time.
Well, Mr. Moody, you are vibrant at this young, tender age. Got so much ahead of you. You speak all the time, all across the globe, I believe, about surviving sexual abuse. The stats are steadily on the rise. Am I correct?
It's well, we read about it every day. And the other thing, if you notice, usually when a predator is finally caught, the number is astounding how many kids they
have already.
Because most of the time when somebody does say something, they just sweep it under the rug.
Can you give us, before I go into what's next for Charles David Moody, can you give us as parents and people out there who are listening just some of the things that they need to be aware of when it comes to their children, the loved ones that surround them, not to be in fear, but just to beware?
I think one of the biggest things I would do, as I said earlier, go to Darkness to Light, D2L.org, and they have training films that you can do online and stuff, and just understand what to look for. One of the things I didn't do was make my kids have, you know, lock them up because of what happened to me. I paid attention, but I let them have regular lives, but I stayed aware. But I also talked to them very early about what happened to me and let them know it's okay to talk to us. And I think the biggest thing we can do for our children or anybody who handles children or deals with children or takes care of children, make them feel safe and secure
with you
to tell you anything. And believe them. If a kid comes to you and say, I've been sexually abused by so-and-so, the first thing you got to do is say, I believe you. You do your homework and make sure. But if you say, ain't no way, I don't believe you, that kid's going to stop right there. They're going to shut down, and that's the end of it. And that's what happens so many times to children. And that's the other thing. We think children are resilient, but we forget we become adults. And then that's when all that baggage of what we've been forced to hide or hold or not deal with comes. And now we got adult issues on top of that.
And other relationships.
And it just gets all crazy. In fact, one of the people I actually ended up helping from anxiety and just being broken was David Banner. I met David Banner through a friend who said, Dave, it was a white female. She said, I think I've gone as far as I can in just giving him advice. She said, I'd like for you to meet him. And we met, this is about 12, 13 years ago. And what I admired about him, that he really paid attention and took notes. And he had been just emotionally drained and beaten.
Yeah.
And we've been close ever since. And that's when I realized everybody of different walks. So nobody would put us together.
Yeah,
you know, a rapper,
yeah.
you know, a hardcore
at a construction.
rapper. Yeah. But I didn't see him as a rapper. I saw him as a person in need of someone who would just share their story. And that's why I share my story, because there are so many people who just don't have anybody to talk to or just even hear a success story of healing.
Yes.
See, my success, my business is one thing. Yeah, I've done okay. But my real
this your passion.
But what I'm really excited about and what makes me feel good is knowing I'm helping people who gonna exceed me.
Do you consider this as your purpose?
This is what I call it now. Construction is my passion. Helping others heal is my calling.
There you go.
Because I wasn't, again, you got to think about it. In 1992, before I said it, I had planned on dying with it. Here I am in 2018. I done wrote a book about it, got a website, and I speak publicly about it because it's more important to me knowing I'm helping somebody else break through something.
You just stumbled into your calling.
Right.
Never did it intentionally, just stumbled into it. About open up your mouth that one day.
What happened also, the first time I spoke publicly, it was for the Georgia Center for Child Advocacy. They help children and families of sexual abuse here in Atlanta. Excuse me. And I was their keynote speaker for a big fundraiser. Now, I speak all the time, but I had never spoke on this topic. So I figured it's going to be a piece of cake. I got 2 minutes in, and I cried for the next 20 minutes. I had never spoke publicly. I cried so much during my speech, but it was like a cleansing cry. To publicly finally just do it.
That's when your freedom really came.
And after that, I speak about it so much on different things. There are no tears and all that, but that first time, I mean, I cried for 20 minutes.
Because we go through our healing processes, but then there's a time that you got to free yourself.
Because, see, I had never said it out loud.
See, that's the other freeing yourself.
That a lot of survivors do.
How did you feel afterwards?
I was drained. I felt good, but I was drained.
You still drained, right.
But sometimes you don't want to believe it. But one of the greatest things I did, last year I took a rafting trip down the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
And that was one of the greatest trips I took because I slept for 7 nights without a tent. I just slept with a cot next to the Colorado River. And there was no internet, no telephone.
By yourself?
It was 16 of us.
Okay.
Some slept in tents, and about 5 of us slept without tents for 7 nights. But there was no cell phone, no internet. And what I realized by day 3, I didn't hear nothing negative. There was no negative noise. By day 7, I didn't want to reconnect. The stars were so bright. The moon was so bright. The river was beautiful. And I hiked out the last day, 7.5 miles, 4,200 feet straight up.
Wow.
I trained for 5 months. But as I was going up, I didn't want to reconnect because I realized every day we hear way too much negative noise.
Yeah, say that
all
again.
day long we hear negative noise. And for 7 days and nights, I didn't hear one negative thing because the 16 of us never said anything negative. All we talked about was the beauty of the Grand Canyon, the rapids, the hiking we did, and the quietness.
And out of all the processes that you had gone through, even for your healing, how did that even contribute even the more?
That's when to me, last year is when I became extremely free because before that, I would have been afraid to be alone without my phone or anything for 7 days. I would have been afraid. Suppose I have a panic attack. I didn't care because I fought through the fear. That's why I call my book Fighting Through the Fear, because with anxiety, we get imaginary fears. But those 7 days and 7 nights of no internet, no TV, no telephone, no contact with the outside world, there was not one negative thing.
How many black folks were there?
2 of us.
I know it.
But you know what? We was cool.
I know you're cool, but I'm just saying, because we ain't doing that
But
too
you know
much.
what?
We can't even come down.
It was the most beautiful, because I'm an outdoors person, so I love the outdoors. But that was the trip I had wanted to do since I was a Boy Scout in the 60s. And to finally get a chance to do it at 61 and go down that river and hope I didn't fall in, because, you know, those rapids get pretty rough.
Yeah.
But the fact that also I hiked out and just what I learned from it since that trip, my phone has not been on vibrate or ring since that trip in over a year. I have not turned my phone on ring or vibrate since then. Even though I still use it, I don't feel that vibration constantly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I took away. But I also now try and spend some time where I don't have any connection to anything. So I go on nature hikes and I just disconnect to truly free myself. And I always challenge people, see if you can turn off your phone,
That's the
TV,
truth.
and everything for
That's the
just
truth.
1 hour a week and just
And be
go-
with yourself.
Right. And just smell the air, the fresh air. Just start learning to disconnect, because when I came along, we didn't have all these things.
No, we didn't. And it's so much that is clouding us that we can't even really tap into ourselves to even begin our healing process, whatever your story is and your life experience.
And that's why I speak up, because I want everyone who's struggling through something to know you're going to be okay. You really are going to be okay. Yep, it's tough. It can be hard. But God and your faith, your friends, your loved ones, and your own strength, you're going to see it through and have an incredible life.
And you got to do the work. You got to
put
do
the
the
work
work.
in.
You got to put the work in. Well, we're going to be right back. Our final segment. This is D. Collins, D Speaks You Think, with Charles David Moody. What's the name of your business?
C Moody Construction
C
Company.
Moody Construction. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
D. Collins, your spiritual leader and life and relationship coach. And I'm so excited because I have an awesome show that's just for you right here on Rolling Out Live. Yes, that's it, Rolling Out Live, every Tuesday from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. You were going to get insight, because when D speaks, you think. We're going to have real talk about life and relationships, because we got real problems, we got some real issues, but guess what? When D speaks, you think you're going to come up with the real solution about your life and relationships. So I want you to join me. Don't forget, every Tuesday from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on Rolling Out Live, and I have a special segment just for you. It's called Dear D. That means you can ask your questions. You can get insight about your life with specificity. So I want you to join me, because it's going to be live. And follow me on Facebook at Dunamis D. And you can also hit me up or follow me on Instagram at D Speaks You Think. See you soon.
30 million people have been diagnosed with diabetes and 75 million with high blood pressure. Let's talk about the importance of cleaning the blood. 50 years of scientific research have shown that garlic, when taken in the right amount, can help to lower blood pressure, sugar level, and cholesterol, all while providing energy. How? Through cleansing, regulating, and replenishing the blood. Garlic alone is powerful, but for over 41 years, we've discovered that by combining garlic, aloe, and parsley together, we help the body to clean the blood even better. You can clean excess sugar, cholesterol, and waste from the blood and promote better circulation. So don't delay. Do it today. Get your bottle of GAP pills. Normally sells for $49.95, but if you use the promo word HEALTH, you get $10 off. Visit us at aloeheals.com or call us at 404-996-6942.
Well, welcome back. Welcome back. D Speaks You Think, and it's real talk about life and relationships. And there's nothing that we could ever experience in our life without it having impacted some other person who is near and dear to your heart. And that's why we have Mr. Moody here, and he's been talking about his life as a survivor, as a sexual abuse, his wonderful woman and wife who helped him through that, your life as a father. We didn't tap into that, but you're also a businessman. How was it being a businessman? Real quick, give me 1 60-second on that.
I run an adult daycare center. That's what a business is. But also, I am so blessed. I have 2 great kids. Both the kids are in the business. I've been in the business for 30 years. I got some of the best staff and team, and I'm just really happy and thankful. But, you know, I just hope today there's one person who's suffering with anxiety or panic attacks or PTSD who didn't think they could make it. realize today they're going to be all right and have an incredible life. And
They
I
are
thank
gonna
you
have
for
an
having
incredible-
me.
I thank you for being here. Tell them how they can follow you on social media.
Yes, they can follow me on Instagram at C Moody 1003, and same on Twitter and on Facebook at C David Moody, and also at moodyspeaks.com.
Well, and that's it for today. And I am D Speaks, D Collins, and you can also follow us at Dunamis, DUNAMIS, woman, on all social media, Instagram, D Speaks, You Think, YOU Think, and it's so excited to be with you. If you have any questions still, you all give me a call, 1-855-B-Dunamis. That's 1-855-B-Dunamis. I'm your spiritual life relationship coach, and we'll be with you on next week. Thanks again, Mr. Moody.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Dunamis woman.